Hi, and welcome to Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and today I am here with go-go dancer and Instagram model David Thomas. How you doing today, sexy?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Work. So, where are you originally from?
I am originally from Ohio. Still live here in Ohio. Some people might be familiar with the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is Canton, Ohio. It's about an hour south of Cleveland, which is where I'm at now.
Yeah. I mean, I get living in a state all my life. I'm originally from Florida, and I live in Florida now. I cannot wait to leave.
I'll trade you. You guys have much warmer weather and less snow than what we have going on right now.
See, I'm looking forward to that because I'm actually planning on moving up around. Actually, this is Florida education. I'm trying to think of like what the country looks like. Ohio and Michigan are kind of close together, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So
Like
I'm planning.
we sister cities.
Yeah, I'm planning on moving to Detroit.
That's a fabulous place to go.
Yeah.
I actually spend a lot of time there, especially this past year.
Yeah. It's just like my thing is when everyone says why Detroit. My thing is I have an album written. I'm like I know I need to go somewhere that's cheap, and like I figured Detroit's gonna be like super cheap for me to live and be able to record this album and like put it out and not go bankrupt.
Well, I think it's a great market over there. It's a young, upcoming, huge LGBTQIA, all the letters scene, with a lot of people doing a lot of really cool things. So I think it's close to a lot of travel and stuff too. Like I said, that's a lot of my entertaining and go-going and events and things that I've been hired for. I've actually been out of Detroit and met some really cool.
Yeah.
There's designers and music and everything.
I was seeing that. So like one thing is okay, so the fear that everybody has of me is Detroit as scary as what people actually make it out to be.
Absolutely not. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, anywhere you go, you're going to have those pockets that are like, maybe I should go not around this block. Um, but
Right.
but I don't know, it's so clean and fresh, and things are well lit, and there's a lot of things happening. And I don't know, every time I've been over there, and we're talking, I've been over there once or twice a month, every month since June, this past year. I mean, it's never had any issues. It's always they always take such good care of you, and they find out you're from out of town. I mean, the people in Detroit are like, "Come here, give us a hug. Like we want you to be part of what we're doing." So it's very welcoming.
See, see that was it's a good thing to like hear this from somebody who's actually like been to Detroit because all these people are like, why would you move there? And when people said that, I'm like, listen, like, granted, it's probably not in the best part of town, but it's like when you can get an apartment, a one bedroom apartment for like $600-700 a month, like, why would you move anywhere else? Like,
I mean, and I've seen the one bedrooms, I've seen the lofts, the townhouses. I mean,
yeah,
I've been to lots of different spots over there. I mean, they're beautiful. They've taken old spaces and made them new.
yeah,
No, and and I used to spend time down in South Beach a lot in my younger years when I was a
yes,
makeup artist. And I know probably Florida's very transient as far as the people, the tourists, all those
right.
things. It doesn't always feel like home, maybe. At least it didn't whenever I was spending time living there. Um,
No, because it's like okay, so I'm not exactly in that area. I'm about an hour. Actually, I'm about an hour north of West Palm Beach. So like, whenever I have performed in South Florida, I don't do it that often, but it's like West Palm Beach, Lake Worth. I think that's about like the furthest south I've gone because as I said, I'm in my hometown now. I'm living at home now. I lived in Orlando for almost 4 years, and then I had to unfortunately come back home. So it's like now I'm like, let me just like save to get out of Florida because you're
yeah,
right.
something new. No, I get that.
Yeah, because as you said, it's not. It's as I tell people, Florida is a great place to visit. It's a great place to like visit like, but the idea of like living here when I tell people that I'm like, look, if your choices are between Florida and Alaska, choose Florida. Other than that, like move
Right.
somewhere else.
I mean, it's a fun party scene down there. I mean, in all the
Yeah,
parts of Florida, and the beach is great. But no, yeah, it can be a lot. I felt like it was. I mean, I'd get homesick when I was down there for
yeah.
sure.
Work. So, what was it like for you growing up as a kid?
For me, so you mean like the quick story or whatever? I mean, it was good. I'm one of two brothers. Or it's me and my brother.
Yeah,
I'm the oldest. Um, I was in wrestling all the way through school, from kindergarten all the way up to my 10th grade year until I got hurt. I had to switch things up a little bit and do something new. Boy Scouts, an Eagle Scout, um, but also so it's kind of the jock thing, but it's also in the show choirs and speech and debate and all that stuff. Um, as far as being gay in a Midwest city or state, um, definitely felt. I mean, I didn't come out until I was 23. So, I mean, it
oh
took
wow.
a long time. And even from when I graduated high school until, that 23 mark, I had dated a girl. We were engaged actually for 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, because, the Midwest farm boy, growing up in Ohio, you're kind of, I don't want to say groomed is the right word, but you kind of have this mindset that everybody does, that it's you graduate high school, you go to your 2 year, 4 year college that's kind of pretty close. I mean, I went to school here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Um, and then you go back home, you start your family, probably marry your high school sweetheart or somebody that you met in that college range, and, do the 2.5 kids in the house and all those things and just settle down. You don't really, a lot of the people that I grew up with there wasn't that, a lot of ambition to go outside of in Ohio. It's safe, family oriented, and the good old boys just stay here. So it wasn't until I got out of that stereotypical thing, kind of realized who I was, met somebody, that a guy that I was
Yeah.
madly in love with, that I started to realize, hey, there's so much more outside of this bubble over here. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was I didn't have a good family. They're supportive. They were supportive when I came out, even if I did it in a text message on the way to Thanksgiving. Um, and I remember texting my mom. I said, me, Matt, and the dog are on our way over for Thanksgiving. She goes, Matt, and I said, yep, see you in 15 minutes. Um, and that was
Or
kind of the conversation. But my family, my brother, everybody was great and supportive with that. So I didn't have, there was a little bit of the bullying in school, through the middle school range, just because I was different. I was artsy and cared a lot about how my hair looked and what clothes I wore. And like the Spice Girls, those
mhm.
were my Spice Girls and Britney Spears. That was my jam. I
Yes.
wasn't doing all the super manly, boy things with I talk a lot with my hands. So I think a lot of other people kind of knew or had a feeling of who I was going to be before I did. Um,
Yeah.
so even at 23, I didn't know who I was going to be. Now I'm 37 now. And so, it took a long time to get
Yeah.
here.
I would say, yeah. So, like, I would say in some ways, the area I've grew up in is like gotten bigger. It's like getting bigger over the years, but it's like, and people are moving here, and I'm trying to figure out why. Because literally, there's nothing to do. Like, I live in an area that still has places everywhere except for bars close at 11 p.m. Like, so there's like nothing to do.
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
I do live just a little south of Cleveland. I used to live right in Cleveland, like right near downtown, where there was a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and that was through my mid 20s up until the last couple of years, and I kind of moved just about 20 minutes outside the city, where in a little burg where things roll up at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So I have that, but I can still get to all the cool stuff.
Right.
Um, that's where things do stay open a little later. We're not now. If we were talking about Detroit, I will tell you that what's cool about over there is things stay open late, and they have like after hours, which I didn't even
Yeah.
know like what that was until the boys and girls in Detroit took me out, and they're like, "We're gonna show you like what the nightlife is." So that was interesting.
Yeah. And like overall, like as you said, you're coming out, you came out at 23. I came out at 18. I will say in some ways I was fortunate because I only had to come out to one parent because I came out 4 months after my mom died. So it was just having to come out to I have my dad, and then I have an older sister. My older sister was super accepting. I just found out why because she just came out about a month ago. So it's like so
How
that
was
was good.
how was that experience? Like have being on the other side of this sibling coming out part.
It was so this is the thing. I found out because like the weird thing is like my life is so like go go go. It wasn't necessarily like she told me. It's like I happened to like see on Facebook that she was like posting all of this queer stuff, and then like all of a sudden she now had her she went back to having her main name, and I'm like, and I kind of just put like two and two together, and like it's not that she told me. I was kind of was like I as I said, I pretty much welcomed her to the family because I'm like this is amazing because she knew I had it pretty bad, not with family. I did have it bad. We're getting into that. So so I came out to a youth minister at the church, which was a mistake because I told him about this performance idea I'd had with like a knife and how I'd practiced stabbing myself because I'm dramatic, obviously. And like he left the room, he came back in about 10 minutes later and he said, "You have one of two options. Either you're coming with me or I'm calling the cops." Now, naively, I went with him. In hindsight, I would have let him call the cops because the cops wouldn't have done anything to me. So he took me to get a psych eval.
Hmm.
They had told me I had passed it, but apparently he didn't. In my belief, he didn't like the fact that I had passed it, and as a result, I got locked in a mental institution for 64 hours.
That's tough. It's rough.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of those things where it's like, and then I thought everything was over after that, but of course not. Then about a week later, he set me up with a therapist for like 3 or 4 sessions, and then she tried to pray the gay away, which we all know how that works.
Well, absolutely. That does it doesn't.
No, clearly, as I sit here like tussling my hair, it's like, so it's like, as I say, that stuff like formed me. Like, as I say, it's weird to say. Like in my 20s, I kind of like downward, like did a downward spiral, and that's honestly what I was telling you about when I talk about moving to Detroit and like putting out this album. It's like, so I'm gonna be turning 30 in June, so it's like this album is basically like the latter half of my teen years and the early or like and my 20s, and it's like I went through it all. I went through being suicidal twice. I was raped. I was sexually assaulted. Like I went through pretty much, as I say, almost everything you can go through. Well, not everything you can go through, but I went through a lot. And it's like, as I always say, I'm one of those people who's like the fact that I'm not like dead right now is like something that I'm like think is like such like a miracle that I'm like grateful for. And it's like that's why I'm like that's why I said as I was writing this album, I'm like I have to put this out, and I have to put this out this year. I have to find a way to like make it as it's done. I'm planning, fingers crossed, to move to Detroit in June and theoretically have this album out by like August, maybe September.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And that's so brave, and you should be so proud of yourself for working through all that. I mean, that's I've got some I do have trauma in my background in therapy
Yeah.
and those things. So I didn't know if we would get into that or not. So I'm glad you brought that up because I think
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of, youth people that went through that in their youth, and people that are going through it now. And, I think, it's so good to see. Well, it warms your heart to see that people are way more open now in this era, this stage, these years, to talk about that stuff. Because, you know, I mean, people didn't talk about that when you were in middle school, at least for me.
No.
And then my 20s, when I got out of, well, and to take, I guess, take a half a step back, I kind of, like I said, great family, but at the same time, it was, there was a lot of, you work on your stuff in the household. You try to keep it together, and like I said, with our family being in business and different things, there's a lot of people depending, on, us doing the right thing over here, so you don't let it fall apart out there, so that
Right.
that things can work. But it's good. I think it's a good, healthy thing to be able to talk about that, because I know, like I said, my 20s, when I did get out there and was actually had my own place and was doing all, trying to figure it out. I felt like, oh my God, everybody around me has this all figured out already. When I found that first, the gay scene when I was first in Cleveland, I was just like, and I don't want to quit that. There wasn't like the Mean Girls, because they were, I mean, there's some of that. There's always going to be that in any clique you're in.
Yes.
But is some mashup of like Jawbreakers meets the Mean Girls, meets whatever other movies that are in that genre, of just like, wow, like these people have it together, and like it's the clothes, the things, the jobs, the career paths. It's like, how are they doing this? And on the inside, it's like, what the hell am I doing, and how do I
Right.
get there? But it wasn't until like the last couple of years, I'm like, I think we were all kind of just figuring out how do we get there. Um, so that's interesting.
And it's also the fact of like, you say that, I feel for a lot of gay people, a lot of what you're talking about in your 20s is that so many people put on like a facade of like that thing where you said everyone has everything together. They don't have everything together, but they want to make
No.
you believe that's that way you feel like shit about yourself. And it's like, I think what changed a lot of this, like at least for me, it was the pandemic. Because it's like I got to the point of like, as I said, I have the vision of the fabulous drag queen you see in front of you, and it's like
Yes.
I had been performing for years, and I was like always afraid to like show skin or like show my legs or like not like dress half naked, because I felt like, well, I'm not someone who's like the skinny like little twig that you see all these other gay people at. And then like it was towards the pandemic, I'm like fuck this, like you are not getting any younger. And like I'm more that person who's like, if you don't like the way that I look, don't fucking stare at me. Like it's but some people say like that's easier said than done. I never said it was easy. It took me years, but it's like you have to get to that point.
Yeah. In whatever path or route or whatever, however long it takes you to get there and how you get there,
Yeah.
as long as you, I think the getting there is the important part. And I hope,
Exactly.
my hope is for people to get there. And now I look back, so like I said, now being 37, um, and being an entertainer, I've worked in, I bartended, and I've done lots of things. I used to have a talent agency, a modeling agency for years in between doing the hair and makeup artist stuff before now
Wow.
coming into it was kind of it was an easy transition. I mean, I went to school for broadcast journalism, then,
Yeah.
ended up networking with photographers and advertising, and fell into this makeup artist side. And like I said, trying to figure all those things out. Had a talent agency, it worked through that through the 20s and early 30s. Now that I've kind of floated into this other side, working with the family business, but then still doing the entertaining stuff, and seeing the younger, newer gays coming in that are in their 20s, it's like, oh, I was with my friends the other night. We were out. And I'm like, that was us. Like, I'm watching these little boys,
Yeah.
like they're drinking and dancing, and like they're like no care. It's a Thursday night, and I'm like,
Yeah.
God, they're going at it like there is, like, tomorrow's not Friday. We know we got to be up tomorrow.
Right.
But that was us, and I just kind of sat there thinking, I'm like, man, I hope it's good for. I hope it's good for them. Like their experience from there to where I'm at. Like there were good parts, there were scary parts, there were parts where I got involved with the wrong people and the wrong things at the wrong places. It's like my hope is that they miss the bad stuff
Yeah.
and, have the good stuff and hold on to that and make it through.
Yeah.
And I celebrate that. I want them to celebrate that
Exactly.
because it's, and like you were saying about, looking different or being different or having a different
Yeah.
aesthetic. So the reason I threw in there the whole modeling agency thing is
Yeah.
that was one of the things I was really proud of with our group, when we were, because it was here in Cleveland, we worked with awesome clients. It's what's funny, people don't realize how many things are actually here, like Nestle, Smuckers, Little Tykes, American Greetings, Dick's
Wow.
Sporting Goods,
Oh
all that,
wow.
it all shoots here, either here, Pittsburgh, like Route 21's out of PA. Dick's Sporting Goods is PA in Ohio. Like all those things shot here in Northeast Ohio. But like what I was really proud of the most of what we did is that we had, from ages 2 to 89, I think it was my oldest at one point, and they were
Wow.
all shapes, all sizes, all colors. I had, I had the, the young 20 something girls that did kind of the fashiony things. I had the mom, the
Yeah.
dad, for Little Tykes. It was, and that what was cool is we got to celebrate all the shapes and sizes and colors, and and that's what our clients loved. And I learned a lot from that too. Um, and that's what I hold on to. Now is one of the events I was at the other night. It was this dollhouse theme party. Everybody was dressed up like their favorite kind of doll look.
Oh,
And you,
Lord.
oh yeah, it was. There was every age, 21 up,
Yeah.
that part. But it just everybody of all different color and shape and size and like all different varying of little spaghetti tops and full on costume. It was so cool to see them be so just them, and
Yeah.
and be like, f you if you don't like it.
Yeah.
And we need more of that.
So what you're saying is, in broadcast journalism, I'm just going to point at this out. You're theoretically more qualified to do this than I am. But no, I'm kidding.
No,
No, this is
you were
this.
doing fabulous.
Thank you. My
I
thing
tend to
is,
talk too much. You might have got that. I don't know if you might have picked the
yeah,
wrong one tonight.
I don't give a shit. Like,
You'll
my
have to
this,
tell me when to stop.
yeah. I mean, my thing is when people like, especially talk about broadcast, it's like everyone's like journalism and all this. You have to go to school for journalism. No, the fuck you don't. I've given away my secret. I shouldn't. My secret was I watched Howard Stern interview a bunch of people. That's how I learned how to interview.
I
Like,
love that.
yeah, I didn't go to fuck. I didn't go to school. Like, my thing is some of the like most esteemed people who interview people who went to school, I think, are garbage. I would say this. Like, I know this is a controversial opinion, and some people say that
I love
you shouldn't speak
controversy.
ill. You shouldn't speak ill of the dead. But it's like I will say this: Diane Sawyer and Barbara Walters are the two worst interviewers ever.
They definitely
So,
had a style.
yeah, that's that. Well, their style. It's like what was I had somebody on here at one point defending Diane Sawyer in like that infamous Britney Spears interview she did. This was before her memoir came out, and
Mm,
they're like Diane Sawyer's just trying to do her job. I'm like, it was her job to make Britney Spears cry. Like she literally prodded until she cried. Like that was is so fucking intentional that like I'm like I'm like, where is my thing was where was Britney's team to like stop that? Because like
right.
if I was breaking it down like that, I want to make sure that I have a manager being like, we're gonna stop this right now.
And and I think that's I mean, in my opinion, I feel like that style is better reserved for I now I do stay away from political topics, but the only thing I'll say is I do tune into all the different networks just so I can get a rounded idea of what this over here is doing, what CNN or Fox, so that I know what all the parties are saying. Yeah. I do have my favorites, but I do feel
Yeah,
like that style, like you're talking about with Brittany, and that's better reserved for the political CNN when you want to get them to give you the right give the right when you want to drill them
right.
versus entertainer performer. you know, that doesn't feel like the right approach. You know, digging that hard into somebody. You know,
Yeah, that's why like I would say this the one time like somebody told me, well, I didn't, they didn't even tell me. So like they were a YouTuber and I like brought them on here and like they had just like lost their boyfriend a few months before like the interview, and it's like I was trying to do my best to like I very rarely like love for the guests to tell me like this is off limits, but it's like I'm not gonna like poke and pry. So I did like my best, and then when I saw the YouTube video where like the guest literally said on their channel, they're like, I was holding back tears. I'm like, God, I feel like shit. Like it, but it's like you can't do everything right. You can't know what's too far.
what's gonna right and what's gonna trigger, what somebody triggers somebody. And
Yeah.
sometimes the person doesn't even know it's gonna maybe trigger them. I did think about that today. Whenever we were messaging back and forth, I'm like, we didn't really prep talk like what topics or things, and I'm like, I'm
Right.
just gonna roll with it. Like you know, I'm an open book.
Yeah.
That you've almost got. I mean, for me at least, with and what I do with the entertaining and things on that end, things you got. I mean, if you don't own it and have the confidence, and if there was something we got into that I'm like, hey, I don't think that's right for right now, I would say
Right.
that. I would tell you that. And and I knew already just from watching, what your past interviews, that
Yeah.
that that wouldn't be an issue. So
No, I try
yeah,
not
you
to
can make me
go.
cry if you want to.
My thing is like when some people are like send me the questions. My thing is with some people I've had to be like because I've done long interviews. That's why like I try and get people, but I let people talk. I'm not the person who's like sitting there watching the clock saying like, okay, we got to stop now. It's like no, I'm gonna let you be free and open. So it's like I'll send people. I'll be like, this is theoretically what I have discussed, but know that I have a tendency to go off script. If you're pointing out something where I have another question to hook onto it, I'm gonna probably like skip one of my questions because like you're gonna guide me into a place where I can get you to open up more. And the other reason I think like the way I do things is like at least my view is if you want people to open up to you, you have to be able to open up to them as well. And like some people would say that's not a journalistic approach. Listen, I've gotten people here in all sorts of different states of nervousness. People who are like, I've done this many times before. They're like, to the I don't know what I don't know. It's like I have to be like to people. I'm like, relax. I'm not here to attack you. I'm here to ask you questions. Like I'm not because like I haven't been asked to be interviewed yet. By the way, if anyone's watching this, I will gladly do any interview. You can ask me almost anything. But it's like as I was telling you before we went on, it's like I'm not gonna ask somebody a question that I'm not in turn gonna answer myself. Like,
I like that. I like that.
yeah, yeah,
And I like that. I like that it's organic. That's I think that's like you said. I think that's the way you're going to be able to have a good interview and
yeah,
get good stuff and get to know somebody. That's what an interview should kind of be like, is getting to know each other, making a new friend.
yeah. Exactly. It's like that's why when people are like, when I've gotten people who've been on 3 and 4 times, it's like, well, if I can get topics out of them, and it's like, and I'm willing to open up, of course they're gonna trust me because like they're gonna know that like I'm on their side versus like those people who are like put on a front. Because I see some people. Because I will say this, I don't know if you, as someone who went to school for journalism, I don't know this. I hate watching when people are like really really bad. I hate cringy interviews and like they just like blow up online, and I'm like I have some of the best fucking interviews ever, and you all are watching this garbage. Like I saw an interview. I don't remember who the guest was. I think it was like Andrew Schultz on a like a podcast. It's like they had three guys basically like sitting there like as they're asking the questions. One guy would ask a question, the other guys would be like, "Oh," like acting so stupid. I'm like, there are four of y'all there, and I can do this shit by myself. Like, come on now. Anyway, so what made you want to become a go-go dancer?
So that's a funny, it's an interesting story the way it happened actually. Um, so uh, like I said, I had done the hair and makeup artist stuff I did that for like 14 years.
Yeah,
Like through my 20s, it started out as a great little side part-time thing that kind of happened. I enjoyed it. I always loved art. And I thought before I went, was doing the journalism, broadcasting, that type of, range, I thought I was going to go like, when I was in middle school, I'm like, I'm going to be an artist and draw people's faces. Turns out the kind of only job for that is like an amusement park where you do
yeah,
caricature drawings. That's
right.
like a summer job. So I'm like, well, that's not like a realistic thing. Um, so when I gotten into that, did that for a while, the talent agency thing. Never, as a kid, my mom had me in some modeling and stuff. Younger years, didn't ever do that myself when I was doing the hair and makeup stuff and working at an agency and owning one. So I was doing somebody else. When that ended, and then like you were talking about the pandemic, things kind of
Yeah,
shifted and people shifted. And I love my parents and their family business and the stuff that they do, but we were talking, I think before the interview started, it's a restaurant franchise, and
right.
food it's a great living. It's a great brand. It's a great business model, but food is not my passion. I stepped into that just because I wanted to make sure, my brother wanted to learn, hey, how do we do this if we wanted to take it over? How do we do this if something, my parents are in their 60s. How do we do this if something were to happen? We have 28 locations and a lot of employees. So what would we need to do to make sure to take care of all of them if something happened and we needed to figure this out? So I wanted to, in the meantime, during pandemic and stuff, when I was bartending on the side, there's a few local brands and things that are around. Ended up, I guess, more so taking fun pictures of myself, and putting that on my Instagram. And it was cute, got some likes. It was fun to post the updates and things. And then actually, this brand that we were talking about, Detroit, um,
Yeah,
this designer Perry Wayne, it's Wayne Underwear. Is out of Detroit. Amazing guy, amazing talented designer. Had invited me out. He said, "I'd love to have you come out for Detroit's Pride." He was going to have a booth. He needed a dancer. Well, he needed someone to work at the booths. It was kind of originally how we had talked. He tricked me a little bit. So if he sees this, I love him. I got there and he said, "So I'm going to put you on the spot. I want you to go during Pride." I'm like, "You want me to what?" Um, okay. Well, you got Britney Spears, so you got pop music. And it turned out we were actually beside the Kiss FM sound tent that was there. So it worked out really well that we had great music the entire 2 days. Uh, and I think he was happy with my little bit of dance skills on the box during Pride. That they have this thing called the Motorball out there that they do, like the big after party dance party that weekend, and I was invited to stay for that and dance. And then what kind of just by happenstance happened was I met this a fantastic drag queen. Her name is Whitney Naomi. She's based out of Detroit, and she's like, "You're cute. I like you. It looks like you can, learn some moves. I would like to bring you back out." And she does a lot with this Pronto, which is one of the premier gay bars out in Detroit, and invited me out to come. And I thought go-go. And when I got there, I realized that I was going to be doing actual male entertainer stripper numbers, dancer numbers. And they actually gave me my first big opportunity to come out and do like 3 numbers, perform for their guests and their customers. And then that was back in like the June, July range. And they brought me back every month, for different things. It was a great team, great staff. I was just really lucky. So I kind of just happened into it. There's a lot of other great dancers and people out there that just sort of welcomed me in. I'm like, listen, I'm new. I don't have all the outfits together. Like, how do I do this? And, you know, like you may have found this, when you get into like the drag community,
yeah,
performers, most there's, and while there's some out there that are a little possessive over their space, in the entertainment
Mm-hmm.
world, and aren't always quick to like kind of mother hen you in. This group out there was not like that. These folks, like, just, I don't know, they just wrapped me into their community, introduced me to people. They took me to things and events and pool parties, and and just sort of, it just gave me tips and things and encouraged me. I think that was separate of just the glam of having like the clothes, the sound mixes, the songs. Just the fact that they were so encouraging to, like, hey, you just got to keep doing it, keep working on it. Look at find things you like, and add that in. Um, and it was, yeah. So that those guys giving me that opportunity was how that happened. And then, coming back home, whenever I got back home, people found out that I, started doing that out in Detroit. They're like, we'd like to book you back here in Ohio. And I've been just really, really fortunate with the connections and friends and things that I've made over the years that I have been booked for a gig almost every weekend since June. Like some show somewhere
Wow.
between. I know it's crazy. I'm not. It's not like a one of these, because I always have this fear that I'm going to show up at a gig. It's like if it's a first time venue that I've been hired for,
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk in. They're gonna look at me and go, "Oh, girl, that ain't it. Go home." Like, just, that I'm gonna walk in. They're not gonna, is when you're putting your own picture. You can look really confident online. It's easy to look really confident online. You take a bunch of pictures, you pick the best ones, your
Mm-hmm.
highlight reel, you put that out there.
Absolutely.
Um, like I said, these different brands that have, like, I had Big Sexy Hair sent me hair care products, and we did a little video with them. The Wayne underwear, American Richard. This is just different, really cool brands. That can feel really exciting, but then you're like, shit, am I doing them justice? Am I doing their brand justice? I mean, this bar puts you on their poster for their event, and you walk in, and then, like, there's all these people, and that's when, for me, that's when, like, the sweats start to kick in, because I'm like, what if I disappoint them or let them down, or my song isn't fast enough or slow enough, or the split isn't splitting. So that's, I know. So I'm like so bad at staying like super on topic with the one question, but yeah,
Yeah.
it just sort of
You're
happened.
fine.
It sort of happened, and I always kind of think, like, every show. Like, when I look at my calendar right now, I'm booked um, every weekend in February, and a couple in March now. But I'm like, oh, that could be my last show, and I'm okay if my last show is my last show. That's okay. They kind of seem to, luckily, keep coming in. Um, but yeah, it was just sort of like, I guess, right place, right time. And, Miss Whitney, if you're watching this, I love you for giving me the opportunity, and, bringing me back. Because, I don't think without her, without that queen giving me that stage time, and, the little pat on the bottom, and, get out there and go. That's your name they
Right.
just called. Um, I wouldn't probably be doing that. I wouldn't have jumped all in, but I did.
Well, okay, so like first of all, I love that. It's like with that, if you're saying Detroit is as accepting as it is, which I'm hoping it is,
Yes.
my brand of doing things, because I will say this podcast came out of me not being able to get booked, because it's like there are plenty of bars, because like I know you've kind of been like looking around my page as on Instagram, as you see, I don't lip sync at all. Like I sing live. Like when
Yeah.
you book me, I sing live. Like I am there to sing live, and like what I feel in Detroit, I would do like a mix of like originals and covers, because I love my music. I'd love to bring my music to queer spaces, because I feel like queer people like my music. The problem is I haven't really gotten much opportunity to do that, because I always say I'm going to get into my first time of doing everything. It's like I in a minute. It's like my thing is I am the person who's like, you have those people who could do the 1, 2, 3 songs, and I can do a half an hour to 45 minutes to an hour, because like I'm from the how I got started. I got started in open mic. I got started in open mic nights and straight bars. So like
Okay.
I know that thing of, and especially the primary place I used to perform at in Orlando. There's a point where they were in between hosts, and like the night was dead. I used to be first person on. I was the person who's like, keep me on. Like I do not care that I'm only supposed to do like 3 songs. I'll do 4 songs. I'll do 5 songs. Keep me on. Like I will do, because it's like that's my thing. Like I love long form. It's like that's why it's like obviously I know you have to do like your little 1-2 numbers. You gotta pay your dues. I get that, but it's like
Right.
I am the bitch who's like, and everyone's like, all these drag queens are tired. It's like, bitch, I'm not even warmed up yet. Like when I do 1-2 songs, I'm like, that's why like all of my like covers from like my Twitch videos, they're like 6 different clips. Those all come from streams on Twitch, which means I went the 36 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever 25, because it's like my thing is, at least my view is, if I'm gonna get in drag, in addition to taking a picture, trust, I'm gonna like actually do something. It's not like this cute. I do one number and I'm done. I'm like no, and I also love doing shit live because it's like my thing is if you fuck up, you fuck up. Like it's out on the internet. It comes from a live stream. It's done. You forget a lyric, you forget a lyric.
It
You make
happens.
something up on the spot. Yeah.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've done. I plan it out in my head. I know what like my dance moves, my things. I come from. I don't know about you. You're talking about doing the longer sets and longer numbers. If you have
Yeah.
a background like the show choirs, like
Absolutely. Yes.
the theater and plays, because that's where I came. From. That was what was hard getting into this. Is like, I've seen the dancers that I love all the styles. And there's the dancers that have like the great moves, like the great like like the magic Mike, the stuff. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not like I don't have all the tricks. I mean, I got some tricks, but not all the tricks. But I love and I grew up in that the 2000s Queens, where if you were at a show, you didn't have your phone out. Like if a queen
Oh shit.
huge and with like a second level or you watched, she could spot you from that stage. If you're on your phone, she'd stop the show. Like you pay
Okay.
attention to the performer.
I'm gonna have you go back a little bit because you kind of cut out.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah. No. 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 As in like you cut off screen and came back on. That's why I said I'm just
Oh,
gonna have you go
gotcha.
back. Yeah.
I come from that background of like if
Yeah.
if there's a performer performing, like you don't have your phone out, you pay attention to all that stuff, and I love the
Yeah.
glitz and glam of that. Um, don't have the magic Mike super all those moves, so I wanted to
Yeah.
kind of combine it because I like that theater, you
Yeah.
know, background. And, and I appreciate the 1-2 numbers. If there's a big lineup, like 8 performers on one night, like okay, I'll dial my numbers down a little bit because like you only want to see so much of me. I mean, there's other people to see. It kind of looks the same under whatever I put on or take off. So you've seen it the first
Right.
two. Okay, you might be tired of it by the third number. Um, but no, I like that. The longer, it sounds like you'd be great with the hosting shows. Like that sounds like something you would. I think that's what makes a great bar event, is when you have a great host who can carry it all together, pull it all together, and not just come out, do the numbers, and then go back. Like,
No, and that's something where it's like, as you pointed that out, I'm the person who's like, everyone's like, can you host a show? I'm thinking, go go look online. Like literally, I've done, what is it? I'm on interview. This is be my 65th, 66th, somewhere around there. It's like it's like I have a resume. Like I know what I'm doing. Like I can work around a bar, and it's like, especially as you said, going back to my start, it's like when I kicked off the night, I was the person who's like, I know, because if you've ever been to an open mic night, almost everybody does acoustic set after acoustic set after acoustic set. So I'm like, let me just like be this giant ball of like electronic energy right at the beginning of the show. So it's like, because no offense to acoustic, I love some of it, but it's like you're gonna fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like, and I used to be that person where the bar in Orlando owners were cool with me except for like one night. So one night I had ended one of my sets by screaming "motherfucker" into the microphone, and then I got told by the owners the following week not to do that. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that this week. That's not my set. Because they said there's old people in the audience. I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm at a bar. I'm not allowed to swear at a fucking bar. Like, whatever. Yeah, I won't swear this week to offend the old people.
Sounds like they were past their bedtimes.
That's my thing. It's like, well, this was. I know in entertainment, everyone thinks that like this is an early schedule, but like I used to do. At one point, I was doing 2 shows in one night.
Like 2 different venues or two, like,
Yes, yes.
okay.
So I literally was leaving my house at like 7 at night and not getting home till like 12:30 in the morning. And some people were like, "That's early." I'm like, "Do you understand what it's like to leave your house at 7 at night and not get back till 12:30 in the morning? Like that's it's like
It's a lot.
granted, no, it's not a late night, but it's a long night, like for sure."
To be on for that amount of time, it's, listen, I feel that because recently had a newer, so a venue around here that they were starting to want to, bring in entertainers and entertainment and entertainers. And like, so
Yeah.
we're thinking like it was a Saturday night. We're like, we're thinking, let's have you here like at 8:30. I'm like, girl, 8:30? How many people are going to be in your bar? I'm like, I'll see you at 10. Because like 8:30, like you don't want me, like you do not want me there, like hanging out and all that for that amount of time. Like let's bump it back a little bit because yeah, I've done those longer ones, and it's a long night. It's hard to go until 1 or 2 or whatever, and keep the momentum. I can do
No,
it. If anybody's listening, I can do that. I'll do it, but it's gonna be a long night for you and for me. I talk too much. You don't want me that long.
especially with not like a break in between, because
Yeah.
I had like maybe a 15. I had like 15 minutes to like leave one bar and get to the other bar, but it's like yeah, it's like I'm like I did that for 5 months, and I'm like eventually
Whew.
I'm like I'm like I'm like love y'all at the straight bar. I gotta drop you because like I can't be doing it.
Yeah. It there's like even doing 2 or 3 shows in a weekend. It. I mean, maybe for them younger boys, man, I get tired on Sunday.
Yeah,
I
I
need
remember
fed
what was
and I need sleep.
yeah, obviously like what was it? This is one of the craziest nights. So what had happened was at the straight bar, I had just done "Bitch Better Have My Money" by Rihanna. That was like my closing
Yes.
song, and like I went to go lean up on like one of the dance moves, and I felt myself like pull a muscle in my back, and I still had to go to do the other show, and I'm like, that's where I went. I'm scrapping what I was doing. I'm gonna do all ballads, and like they had this like I used to perform at this. It's not open anymore in Orlando. There's like this gay resort that I used to perform at, and like in their like courtyard, they had like a picnic table. So like in between numbers, I would go do one number, come back outside, go lie down on the picnic table until the next number. Because I'm like, and that's how I got through the night.
I love that. I love that. I'm a fan of a nap. Recharge.
Yeah, yeah,
Red Bull can only do so much. It can only hold out for so long.
yeah. And it's like my thing was I'm doing a locals night anyway because I used to perform on Thursday night, so it's like theoretically the locals all know who I am. They know I can dance. I just can't do it tonight.
Yeah. I'm sure they loved it.
Yeah,
Now, let me ask you a question.
yeah.
Let me be the interviewer for a second. So, like, what is your? I'm just curious. What is your go-to, your go-to artists whenever you're picking, songs or music? Like, you have, like, what's your style? Who's your fave? Who are your loves?
If I would, okay, it would depend. Like, if I was doing like at a gay bar, like my like automatic, depending on what mood I'm in, my go-to songs are either something by Lady Gaga, because like Lady Gaga is my favorite artist of all time. Uh, Blow by Kesha, that's another one of my
Your go-to.
go-tos, and then like I would say either Team by Iggy Azalea or Anaconda by Nicki Minaj. So it's like,
Nice. That's a nice range.
yeah,
Now, do you pick, so when you're picking like your music for the night, or the event? I know sometimes I try to lean into if there's a theme, because the us gays, we love a good theme. You give us a theme, we will turn out, we will dress, we will do it, we will go for it. So sometimes I'll try to lean into music that maybe feels like the theme, but like, what do you pick your music for you, like what you love, or for the audience, like, or because I don't know. That makes sense. Like, what do you? I was
right.
curious.
I get what you're saying. I would say in truth, it depends on how much time I've had to rehearse. If I haven't had a ton of time to rehearse that week, I'm just gonna pick out a song where like I know it like off the top of my head. That would be your Blow, that'd be Team, that'd be Poker Face, it'd be like Love Game. I'm gonna pull out a song where it's like I already know that I know this. In terms of like would I pick out a song that people love? If I'm like at a place where I could like change everything, because like I've done karaoke nights before, like those are great because
Hmm.
it's like then you have like a plethora of songs, you can just like pick a song and like sing it for somebody. But if I'm already at a place and it's like a gig where where it's like I'm using a flash drive or like an iPod to like play stuff, I kind
Hmm.
of tell people, even if they do requests, I'm like, listen, I'd love to make your request happen. It's just I've already had to pre-decide everything.
Yeah.
So it does depend on the gig. I would say what I'm looking forward to is like as I going into Detroit, it'd be a chance to like this is why I honestly say like long form is better for me, because like I'd love the idea of like doing 3 and 4 songs. So that way I can do like maybe if I did four, it'd be like 2 originals, 2 covers. So it's like you don't
Like
feel
that.
anybody left out, but at the same time you get to like
Introduce them to something new.
yes.
No, I like that a lot. It's a great answer.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that you're venturing into I watched some of your original stuff, and it's really
Yeah.
cool. And
Thank
the
you.
whole energy behind it. Yeah.
And it's like somebody I've interviewed on here, they're like, I want to see more of your like singing videos. It's like, especially as you said with your busy schedule, I'm thinking, listen, sometimes my skin needs a chance to like be a man. Like, I love getting a drag, but it's like, because it's like, I will admit, this week I overbooked myself. Like, so I'm doing this interview with you today. I'm doing an interview with somebody on Thursday, and then I'm doing an interview with somebody on Friday. And then the person you suggested to me, I'm interviewing them on Monday. So it's like,
Oh, awesome.
I I get
You're
yeah, it's like
you're
I
gonna have
gave
a lot of
myself
fun.
no break. I'm like, why the fuck do I do this to myself? Like,
You're gonna absolutely love him. We
yeah,
actually, he recently joined my day job company with us, with my family, and he's been such an amazing fit.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm so glad he was able to say yes.
yeah.
We work together a lot. I'm not gonna say who, because you're probably
No,
keeping your
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
but
I'm keeping everything a secret because like I'm not saying this for your friend. I am saying this for other people. I mean, obviously it sucks, but I've had people not show up before, so it's like,
Well, yeah,
and it's like that's the thing where people say like, where I told you that amount of like interviews I've done, I've only been interviewing people for a year, and that number would have been higher if it wasn't the amount of people I had who didn't show up. Like,
right. I didn't want to do that to you. That's
yeah,
why
yeah, yeah.
as
No,
soon as I knew that I was going to be running later today, which sorry everybody for not being on time, the day
yeah,
kind of ran over. So thank you for
yeah.
being accommodating.
Of course, like,
We're out here hustling. We have this day part and this night job and the weekend job and the gig next time. And yeah, it's it's you're trying to make it all happen together.
but it's like, and the thing that kills me, and it's like, I see people like, so I have obviously fans of mine who are singer. It's like they're like, how do you keep your voice all the time? How do you keep everything in check? And I literally tell them, I'm like, everyone waits till they're sick to start drinking green tea. I
Mm,
drink green tea all the time. And like,
yeah.
I don't know if that actually does anything. I'm not a doctor, but it's like, I hardly lose my voice at all. Like, and Lord knows, especially when I'm doing like my Twitch streams and stuff, I am doing like in between songs, I do like riffing and like yelling and stuff. So it's like, I know I put my voice through hell. So it's like, I'm doing something right. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's the green tea. I don't know.
That's definitely a plus. I mean, the staying hydrated, all that stuff. I'll tell you this: I did the speech and debate all through school, through high school. Um, and hours of like rehearsing the same. They were, they were 30-minute speeches. You had to learn a 30-minute script and then go and
Mm-hmm.
perform it and make sure you're in that amount of time. But hours of that every day leading up to the weekend times and then do it 5 or 6 times in one day. I think only twice in 3 years did I ever actually like totally lose my voice. Seprecol, I think that's how you say it. The Seprecol lozenges were like my secret, like
Yeah.
SOS trick to get enough of a voice to perform.
Yeah.
But yeah, that staying hydrated was always kind of the key. Green tea, I'm gonna remember that. I should mix that in and be a little healthier.
Yeah.
I working in a restaurant, I do a lot of soda, and that's probably um, or from Ohio, so I should say it the right way for all the Ohioans out there. Pop, I do a lot of pop. Um,
Yeah.
so I need
I
to do more
mean,
green tea.
I get it. It's like, that's my other thing. So it's like, obviously I try and do plenty of water, but I can't break soda because some people are like, but why? I'm like, listen, because it's the thing with my job and everything, like, and me having to commute. So like, I pretty much only sleep during the weekends because like I am up at 4 a.m. So it's like usually by like noon, if I don't have another like soda, I'm ready to crash. Like,
Yeah.
that's why it's like, that's like, you should stop that. I'm like, listen, it's like, granted, I don't do like brain, I'm not do don't do like rocket science, but I need to be somewhat awake to do my job. Like,
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah,
and I don't do a lot of coffee, and I'll probably lose my gay card for this one. I don't do iced coffee. I mean, I will, but I probably do lean more towards tea.
yeah,
And then yes, and soda. I'm trying to do. My friend that you were talking about that you were interviewing, he's
yeah,
the bigger guy as you know, and so
yes,
we're working out together now, and I'm trying to stick to the 3,400 calories a day and all the and not as much soda and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, like this is going to be tough. That's like a whole job in itself, trying to eat like that and then not have like all the. But that's probably my biggest vice is probably pop and salt and vinegar chips. So I do have some stashed away in the pantry right now. Like I can't break those two.
yeah. It's like, you have to, because like, my thing is, I get that. I'm trying to cut back, and it's like, at some point somebody was like, was it because, as I said, I like exercise in the morning, somebody was like telling me, because they were trying to figure out I'm losing weight, they're like, like, why don't you exercise during lunch? I'm like, listen, I'm like, I like, as I said, I exercise in the morning. I can't exercise in the middle of the day too. Like, that's just
I'd be garbage. I'd be
that
garbage if I tried to do that. I wouldn't make it.
that's too much. And it's like that's my only time to like. I don't even eat like a full meal. I do like breakfast and like excluding days where I interview because a lot of times I had time today, but usually I don't. It's like I do dinner, so it's like at lunch I have to have like a snack or something because it's like, as I said, getting up at like 4 a.m. and like not eating dinner till like around 6. Like
Hmm.
you have to have something in between them. Like,
Oh yeah. And I think you should, like, what was it, the Parks and Recreation TV series where they did that treat yourself. Like I've talked to a lot. I've worked with, like, my mom has a trainer that, that I go to advice. I go to my one friend, a lot of different people.
yeah.
And I think most of them will tell you, you got to have the cheat things. 'Cause
Oh, of
it's,
course.
yeah. And, um, just, I don't know. I'm not a big sweets person, but, chips and snacks. Otherwise I wouldn't make it through the day. And,
No,
I'm,
totally.
yeah.
Where? Oh, okay. Here we go. How have you reacted when people have inappropriately touched you while performing?
Mm, I'm a pretty good sport. I will say I've been, so it's interesting. I've talked about this with other entertainers. Um, you- I've noticed I haven't had a lot. I haven't had to deal with that a lot. I've actually been really, really fortunate to not have that happen. Maybe only a handful of times. Um, one which was super, super inappropriate. So, and I'm not even go into details about it, but usually for at least the events that I'm at, there's a kind of a I don't know, so handler is the right word, but kind of like your person, your booker, whoever. There's someone
Right.
that you can, like. That always has someone I can go to. And like, I think one time I had to go and say, hey, there's this one individual. I think I don't know if they've kind of, gotten a little extra comfortable tonight. Maybe you could talk to them. Like, so I never want someone to feel like I would never put a, like, I don't want to ever embarrass somebody because,
Yeah.
what one person thinks is okay might be, it just depends. So I always kind of quietly and professionally. Um, I have noticed that, a lot since like the Me Too movement and those things, that, and especially with like the younger, it's a weird divide. So you have, um, you know, audiences that when they skew on that older range, they're way more. They've been to shows, they've been to drag shows. They kind of know like how it works, what to do, where, how to tip,
Right.
um, and what the expectations are. The younger ones, it's interesting. Um, One of the more adorable things I've seen happen is this one boy, just he like walks, he gets up, he walks over, and he like laid the money on the floor, and I'm like, no, 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 come here, come back, and then he kind of like did a little curtsy, and brought back, and they're the younger age, they're way more careful about, like, or nervous even about, like, touching inappropriately, like where to put it, like just stick it in the waistband, or
Right.
whatever. They're looking, which I appreciate. It's, and I try to always, like, I'll kind of lean and whisper, like, hey, no, come on, like, just go for it. You got to guide their hand or whatever.
Yeah.
You want it to be
Right.
fun because you want it to be fun. I want them to learn how to, interact with an entertainer, because I think that's an
Right.
important part of the experience for a good show. Um, but yeah, no, I haven't had to run into that, and I'm grateful, to all the people that have come out to shows that I've been in, and for being so great, and so respectful. And I think, rarely have I run into that situation.
Right. I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Before I answer this question, I'm just going to state this for all the people out there who are still unfamiliar of what to do to a go-go. I'm going to say this: grabbing somebody's dick No. Sticking your fingers in somebody's ass? No, it ain't cute. Nobody likes it. Unless you were okay, I will say this. Unless you're dealing with a trapper, if you're dealing with an actual go-go, that kind of behavior is not like accepted. I know this because I've interviewed a trapper before and he told me that. But it's like in terms of me, it's only happened once. So it's like I was sitting at a bar, and this is the thing, I was working a place without a backstage. It was like when I wasn't performing, I was just sitting among the audience, like watching other people perform. I had some drunk motherfucker literally say, I want to see you without your wig, and ripped it off my head.
Oh yeah, no.
And I'm thinking, I'm like, I had to do that calm thing because it's like, I'm like, baby, you're lucky you've gotten me in a good mood. Because if not, this shoe would be, I would be untying this platform shoe and it'd be going right upside your head. I'm not a violent person, but it's like, at that point, you've already like touched me. Like, I was sitting here minding my own business, and not only is it like annoying, but it's like now I'm literally having to sit in the window, look at exactly where my part is, so that way I'm in, because the wig was like center parted, like most of my wigs are. It's like, so now I have to figure out exactly where the part is, make sure it's on the right part of my nose, so I don't look fucking crazy when I go up and do this next number. Because chances are it's going to be recorded by somebody.
Well, I think the thing that there's a couple key rules. I mean, kind of, and a lot of times bars speak. And and now here's what I will say. Like when I mentioned, Miss Whitney Nami from Detroit.
Yes.
One thing that with her that I, because sometimes I'm backstage and I don't always hear the opening. Like you walk around at the beginning, then you go back and you're like trying to hurry up and get ready because wherever you're at in the lineup, you catch pieces and parts of the show, the other entertainers. But something that like her and a lot of other ones do too is they will usually kind of prep the audience, like when they do the opening, like, hey, welcome to yada yada, like the one that they do at Pronto, it's Lust City, is a lot of times what they bring the boys out for, and it just kind of runs through the rules, like you can, make sure you tip your bartenders, tip your entertainers, blah blah, and it's know this, know that, know whatever, if there's things that are important to mention, and because a lot of times
Right.
bars have rules, like even for us as entertainers, like we can't, there's only so far we can take it, adult range, performer range, um, before it puts you can't have everything off. You can't be like, you know, totally uncovered because that puts the bar's liquor license in danger, and and their things, and puts them on a list for getting watched. And I don't know if you saw theirs. I think it was out in, was it Washington? I don't want to miss it. Was it Seattle or Washington or somewhere that recently had some controversy with some bars, some LGBTQ bars, and other bars rated, where they were looking, to hone in on, I guess, what they called controversial behavior or
Right.
attire, because of them being liquor establishments. And every city, every
Right.
state has their own rules. So a good entertainer knows what those are and will follow those. And in the
Right.
same way, I think that the patrons, need to make sure that they're kind of aware, not only for the, out of the respect for the entertainers, and their level of comfortability, but if that's their watering hole, don't put your bar at jeopardy, or yourself for
Right.
possibly getting banned. Because we can have a lot of fun. We can have a lot of fun. We
Yeah.
can make it hot. Um, but let's not take it too far to where we're crossing the line. Like I said, I've not had it really happen too many times, but maybe once or twice. So I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yes. My thing is, this is the one thing that I will say, and I understand, like, I've been told that some bars have, like, a look that they're trying to go for, and that's why this shouldn't happen. It's like, I would say for anyone's trying to go into the go-go industry, at least from what I know this, if you have the option to wear a thong every time you perform, that's your, like, theoretically safest bet. Because I know it's problematic to say this, but it's like, as much as jock straps look good, I feel like jock straps, like just leaving the hole like open when you're dancing, is some people's open invitation. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that it's likely to happen if you are wearing one.
Well, and by law for us around here, it's no no hole, no pole. And I speak this guy with the little joke, not the joke, but I mean that's the rule. Like you can't, the front and back needs to be covered. And a jock strap's cute.
Yeah,
Who doesn't love a good, a good little jock strap? But even that, like the boys that I worked with, there was always that the thong or something that layer underneath,
right.
and a cute matching color, so that one you just it's. I mean, for me, as far as my comfort level, like it's a matter of kind of. I was an athlete, I want to kind of have things in place too. I mean, I want to look good, to
Yeah,
make it hot, but I want things to be contained, appropriately. Is that's not the kind of show we're doing. This show, not that show. So,
right.
and leave it a little more to the imagination is, I think a lot of people enjoy that more. Not like, hey, it's all out there.
No, I heard that's like because I've interviewed people out in LA, and I hear like that's just a thing, and like
Less restriction out there, maybe. A
less,
little, I don't want to say more progressive. I'll say less restriction. So
but they still do have like cabaret laws and all that. But I'm like, this is, as I said, like my whole thing is like this is what somebody told me from LA. They're like, but the bar has a theme, and I'm like, well, the theme should be like I get the like you want to have your dancers in jock straps. I get that. Like my thing is the jock thong combo is honestly probably because it's not like you can't. There's not like you could do it like theoretically. Let's just say you want your bar to all be black. You could have people in jock straps like the jock thong combo. You're still gonna have their ass out. It's like
he's getting
just giving them a little bit.
a little triangle of, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah,
doesn't take anything away.
exactly.
I don't think.
So, have you ever had a tip stolen from your body?
Probably, maybe. Um, now I will say I've as you learn. I don't know. I feel like I learn something from every show I do. I've had um, uh, wardrobe or outfits that have not always lent their hand to a good place to secure them. So I've
Right.
learned from that, and I don't know. Now I recently saw a local entertainer here had recently posted that they had the picture. Somebody was able to get a picture of this couple that had like literally went on stage and taken tips from several like one of the entertainers, like a bunch of tips. I don't know, it was out of the jar, out of a bucket, or off the floor. Wasn't but they took a bunch of the money. I'm usually that one that's like stuff, I lose things along the way, and somebody usually picks it up and gives it back to you, which is really, really kind of them.
Yes.
But I have learned that, there's, I love Amazon for a lot of things, but they have, these cool little, it almost looks like a stock, like a garter belt kind of thing, but they have it's like a little buckle, like a little, little buckle connector elastic. And that's turned out to be a good accessory to, keep everything secure so I don't lose stuff.
Yeah.
And just like with, where not to put your fingers, don't stick your tip dollars in your go-go boys spots. They don't like that. The waistbands are good, you start
Yeah.
going in the back door with it, and that's like a little uncomfortable and awkward.
Right. Right.
And I'm not leaving it there.
Yeah.
So I prefer not there, please.
Exactly. It's like, well, okay. The answer for me, this one is easy. Like, has anyone ever stolen one of my tips? First of all, here's my easy response to somebody. As I pointed out before, I'm singing live. So, sorry, I just heard something go off. That's why I was just stopped for a second. Where
Nope,
the
you're good.
anyway, let's just see if it makes a noise again. It's like so it's like Um, I'm singing live, so it's like if I see you trying to take my tip, I'm literally gonna go to the DJ, stop the music. What the fuck do you think you're doing?
Hmm.
Because it's like I'm in. Everyone's like that would ruin the song. I don't care. Don't steal my fucking money. Like it's mine.
And don't steal our wardrobe pieces either. I got, had I've, you had someone try to take my undies before. Those are expensive. The outfits and stuff we put together, like, don't take our stuff. Don't take our stuff. Don't take our money.
Wait, take your underwear. How?
Like, so, like, I'm a big fan. Like, I layer a lot of things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Between the pants, whatever. I'll usually do some kind of brief or something over top before I go down to like whatever my exciting last. Because I was like I said, I'm a big fan of. I grew up with Britney Spears and Nick Christina and all those like, and so my inspiration for like when I'm doing like putting together wardrobe and like whatever kind of choreography or things I want to do, I like that wow factor. I always loved like her stage performance where she did the pulled off the black suit into the sequined outfit, stuff like that.
Yes,
Like
yes.
the hat comes out, like whatever. Like I love a great reveal. Like that's my like so whatever is over top. Like I like to go down to something that's like, wow, yes, I want to, I want to surprise, I want it to be fun. So yeah, sometimes there's like a little layer over the last layer, and I've had someone try to take those before. So, you know, at the risk of solid, or it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes things go missing in dressing rooms too. Um,
Yeah.
Hopefully that's by accident and not on purpose, but those things do happen. So shame on that.
Yeah. So, have you ever hooked up with someone who's tipped
What?
you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe. No,
It's a lot.
I like to make new friends and love interests. Um, that there have I had, so I'm actually very single right now. I've
Yeah.
been single for a few years, just dates on and off. Um,
Right.
yeah, I had that 5 year straight relationship that I was engaged. And after that, I had my first big when I came out, and I was with that person for almost 5 years. Well, apparently that's my golden number.
Wow.
If we date for any amount of time, just know that when we break up, I will probably like we'll have had a dog and whatever else, and I'll leave you with all that to figure out what to do, and I'll keep moving.
Yeah.
On with my next onto my next pay. But at least I'll leave you with a puppy to keep you company whenever we're done.
Oh.
um, but it's so I'm sure that somebody that I a love interest, somebody I've been seeing is probably you know tipped me if they've been at one of my things. I just get a little nervous. Like I usually don't tell somebody that I'm dating or something. Like when I'm doing a show, because I'm like I don't want them to show up because like that makes me more nervous. I'm like
Right.
like I'm watching. It takes me it takes me about to my second number, probably halfway through, to be like, screw it, they're here, just like everybody
Yeah.
else. I danced around that answer though. I
Yeah.
tried to avoid that one.
Well, I mean, as I said, it's okay. Like that you haven't. I've only done it twice. One of the times was like 6 or 7 times was theoretically with the same person, so it only counts as once.
Okay, has to be new. Has to be a
And
new one for it to count as a separate. Yeah.
yes, exactly. That's called gay math. It's like, it's like so. As I said, the place I performed at in Orlando, it was like this giant resort, and they used to have like a beach out back. And this, I will say, this resort, I loved this place. It's the place where I call like quote unquote had no rules. So it's like one of those places where you like see people making out, and like all of a sudden somebody would like pull their like partner's pants down in the middle of the corridor. Is like one of those kinds of places.
Okay.
So like I
I was today years old when I learned about
yeah
dark rooms and those things. So I'm still learning. That,
yeah.
you know.
So I had a guy with a cross-dresser fetish, obviously, who like he's like 6 or 7 times asked me, he's like, "Do you want to get your dick sucked?" I'm like, thinking, yeah, like if you're offering. So like snuck him out to the beach and like let him do his thing. So I did that, and then like the only other time, so like again at the same place, they had like a regular parking lot, and then they had like this giant field like behind it where they had extra parking spaces because like during the weekend they would like fill people up because they used to get people like Alaska and all that and like fill the parking lot. Anyways, like
Yeah.
a guy hit me up on Grinder. Like another guy, I was just like, it was just my normal male like profile because I don't have a profile in drag. And then once he found out that I was doing drag that night, he's even more interested. So he came into that field and I went out there and he like fucked me till he got nervous. And I'm like, this is at 11. This is like at 11:30. I'm like, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's not like, and it's like, so what? A car pulled up next to you. It's like they know what we're doing. They're probably here to do the same thing. Like, but I said whatever. Listen, I'm not one of those people like. Because the thing was when I tell people I'm drag queen, like I'm a tall fucking bitch. Like
How tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
Okay.
Yeah. So like in heels, I'm even taller than that. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
so when people are like, most of the times when people want to hook up with drag queens, they want to hook up with the short people. So like when I hook up with people, usually black guys. The other reason I want to move to Detroit, it's like, it's like,
I will tell you, it is like it is a total melting pot over there of like all the different things. So
yeah,
whatever you're into, they got some cute boys over there, cute girls, cute
that,
everything. So
yes. Like I would say this actually, we're getting into like what your dating life been like. So I'll just answer this briefly. It's like, so I have a friends with benefits here who wants to like is like wishy washy about if he wants to commit or not because he's like, I know you want to move to Detroit. I'm like, but you have feelings now. You have feelings while I'm here. It's like it's one of two things is gonna happen. Either we're going to like go our separate ways and you're gonna be upset because I already know you're all gonna be upset, or we're gonna date long distance and like we're gonna somehow find a way to like make it work. But it's like you gotta make a decision before, as you just pointed out, before you send me into like the lion's den. Because it's like if you don't make a decision before I leave, somebody else is going to. Like
right.
right. It's like because his thing is he wants to stay around here. He wants to move to Orlando. And I'm thinking, I'm like, you're gonna like that for about a year. As I said before, I lived there for 4 years. There's a reason I haven't, or almost 4 years. There's a reason I haven't tried to move back because like their gay bars are like dwindling down like one by one, and it's like you're gonna have nothing to do when you get there because like you can go to Disney, you can go to Universal, you can go to SeaWorld. You can only do those things so much over and over again before you're gonna get bored. And everyone's like, but you're going to Detroit. I'm like, listen, if I get too bored with Detroit, I could theoretically go to Canada. Like,
Oh yeah, it's like right there. I've accidentally done that
exactly.
before. You
Yeah,
take the
that's the
wrong
thing.
turn
I'm
into the
like,
wrong tunnel.
yeah, it's like all I gotta do is get myself a passport. You drive like 10 minutes, you're in Canada.
Yeah, right there.
But I would say that's me now. In terms of the past, the longest relationship I've had. So you said 5 years. Actually,
Yeah, right
wait.
around there.
You went 5 years. You went 5 years with a guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was where that. Yeah, he was great. We came out together, and over the course of the time, we had gotten a house, a dog, um, or is kind of all the things. Um,
Yeah.
but 23 to 27, you change a lot. I mean, there's
Hmm.
I mean, aside from like the party nightlife personality, like I, do my parents raised us to, be curious and try to stay educated and read and whatever. So, I've always been like really intrigued with this, psychology side of things. Um, and I read a lot, like there's people are still developing, brains are still developing, well past your 20s, even into like the 30s before you're
Right.
really fully kind of developed, hopefully. Um, and the person you are at 23 and the person you are at 27, that's, they changed. And we were great. He was great. We just, we that towards that end, we just weren't great together anymore. Then, we're moving in towards different things. And um, he was, had this kind of, his family, his parents were older. He was the youngest. He was looking to, you know, kind of go a different direction, and a different, and not, be right here in Ohio, all the time. And my family's here. I got two nephews, um, and I wasn't really in a spot to want to leave, like that
Right.
significant for, a significant amount of time other than like, short trips or, vacations.
Right.
So,
So I would say the longest relationship I've been in was a year. And like that ended kind of like suddenly. So like what happened was we had moved in together. They'd moved into my apartment, and then like one day when I went to work, they moved all their stuff out while I was at work, and they left me a note with a key in the door, basically like breaking down the whole relationship. And then like towards the end, this person said, "I'm transitioning."
hmm,
And she's like, "I know you won't accept me for the way that I am," which she wasn't wrong about, because like this was, as I said, this was 2018. I feel like as a community, like, yes, we had all seen trans people, but we didn't know as much about trans people then as we do now.
right.
So, like, I was very the person who's like, it wasn't like, oh, it's okay, babe, I'll support you. I am. I'm like, no, if you're transitioning, we're breaking up. Like, that's how I was. So, like, as I always tell people, take time after you break up with somebody. I didn't. That's why I'm pointing this out. So I dated somebody for a month after that. So it's like now I lean more towards the monogamous side. I believe I did poly things before. I did poly things in this 1 month relationship. And like his rules were okay, we're gonna do stuff, we do stuff together. I'm like, okay, fine. So I moved him in because he was like I moved him into my apartment because he was too far away. I'm not doing that either with the next relationship. They're gonna have to have their own fucking place.
No, I think that's
It's
good.
like,
They do.
yeah, yeah,
You
but
start super combining things really quickly.
yeah,
Um, that was that long term thing. Now it made sense that
yeah,
that amount of time we were together, we got in there, but it's hard. It's hard to, you hold. It's hard to let go. It's hard to be rational. The
right,
breakup was, now so as great as the relationship was, the breakup was awful. In a lot of
right.
points. And yeah.
So okay, so his thing was okay. So as I said, he said we do stuff together. I'm like, right. So I went to work one day, and while I was at work, he got sucked off by two guys while I was in my apartment, and I'm like, oh, so this is the game we're gonna play.
This is like while you guys. This is after making those rules, agreeing to those rules.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm like, okay, like the young vengeful person. I'm not this way now. I would just break up with somebody. I'm like, okay, so he went to work one day and I got fucked by somebody. So I'm like, as I said, when you're young, you do vengeful things. When you're older, you realize that like letting go of the relationship. So he broke up with me, and as we broke up, so when I lived in Orlando, I lived in the hood, so it's like I lived in a predominantly black neighborhood, and he screamed with my front door open, "All you ever want is that N-word dick." And I'm thinking, I'm like, and part of my mind is like I was sick, but the other I was sick, so I didn't really care. But in the other part of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm like, a not a good point that you're saying, but you kind of right. And it's like the other thing was I'm like, can somebody shoot this motherfucker for me? Like I will literally like sit there and defend you. I'll be like, he got in the way of your bullet. Like it's his fault. He should have moved out of the way.
He ran into it.
But as they say, evil. Well, you don't want to say that this is like an evil thing to happen to somebody, but it's like, as I say, if you believe in karma, karma's a bitch. Because like a month after he left me, he got HIV.
Oh,
So I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm like, dodged the bullet there.
I think people should, that's something. If you're active in a lifestyle and a community, you gotta, the right thing to do is to protect yourself and the people that you're going to be with.
Yeah,
At least at the very least, do that if you're gonna, you know, you know what I mean.
it is.
So
It is what it
it's a
is.
touchy subject for a lot of people. Um,
Right.
and being responsible on that end is so important. Now, as far as like the vengeful things, I say the worst thing that I've done to the breakup, so it was really bad. As in the process of it was in the breakup process. This particular one was, we drew it out like it was. We're breaking up. I'm leaving, and then back, and then leaving, and then back, and this whole thing
Yeah.
for like 3 months. And when at the very end, um, I might have like came when I had to get my stuff, and I took the dog and like all the really good underwear, and then my favorite. And then we had all these really great picture frames from our house, and listen, I'm not a Pottery Barn guy. I'm like Restoration Hardware, our house. I'm that I like that nice shit, whatever. So I took all the really, I left all the like, we fought over Hobby Lobby frames because I mean, come on,
Yeah.
we know what they stand for. I don't.
Right.
I mean, I will go to Joann Fabrics first. So I left those and took all the good art house frames, the good underwear, the
Wow.
good toys, and the puppy. I only brought the puppy back because my friend's like, that was really dumb. You should take the dog back before
Right.
you guys have a big issue to get. But I kept the underwear because they were cute.
Yeah.
And looked better on me anyway. Or so I told myself.
Yeah. It's first of all, you talk about nice stuff. Here's the thing. I will say I've never had like an adult apartment because like, actually, I'll probably take some of this stuff. My apartment in Orlando, like half the shit was from Goodwill. Like, so like,
Great finds. A lot of my great outfits for my routines and my numbers
yeah,
and my shows are from there. So
yeah. And it's like, aren't you? Some people are like, aren't you gay? None of your furniture matches. I'm like, listen, it is all cheap. I'm not a gay with money. Like, I am poor. Like, that's the other thing. That's the other thing I'm looking forward to living on my own again is like being poor again. Because some people are like, how do you lose weight? How do you do all this? I'm like, first of all, like move out on your own and like learn to like starve yourself. You'll lose weight. Trust me. Like,
would you have to decide? Yeah, decide. It's like electric bill or groceries. I guess I should.
yeah,
And it's winter in Ohio. I guess I should pay that electric bill first and then go from there. I don't know. I'm one of those like so after that one breakup, like I did a whole period of time like I like 'cause I had in that time we did a lot. We were like that couple that really didn't go out a ton. I mean, maybe like once a month. So it wasn't a whole lot of it. There's most of the stuff was at home. If our friends have to come over to the house and the neighborhood,
yeah,
whatever. And we did have, things were furnished and whatever. But when I went, I'm like, I was kind of in that weird spot of like, I'm not going to make friends. I don't want to meet anybody, and I don't want to live in this apartment. This is just a for now thing. And I had like, um, I didn't even have like a TV stand. I used the ottoman from the couch that I had to put my TV on. And I remember the
Wow.
first time that like my new friends had come over. Um, we'd been out and there was drinking, whatever. And I was kind of like, I had been good about not bringing people back, so I don't want to see. And then when they walked in, they go, "Did you get robbed, or or what happened?" I'm like, "Oh, this is just." I kid you not, like I went to Target, I think, and I got like four plates, four bowls, four, and then four pieces of silverware, like spoons, knives, forks, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't planning on entertaining anybody. I mean, it wasn't planning. I mean, if I was having people over, we're doing pizza, eat with your hands, figure it out. Um,
Yeah.
paper towels, a plate. Um, like I just wasn't trying all that hard like that. Um, and then I got rid of a lot of stuff over several different moves. Now I'm getting to that point where I kind of want to, I'm not going to break the bank with, trying to overdo it. I also don't know that I want to fall into a deep relationship again and then have all of my stuff be his stuff and our stuff,
Right.
because then if it, not that the what I you let so to divert or whatever the topic for a second.
Right.
My one friend teases me about this. I was like, when I meet somebody that I really really like, I play this game in my head. Like I start imagining like what would we fight about, and my friend Steve laughed his ass off. He was like, "That's a different way to think about it." I'm like, "No," I'm like, "I think it's a really super honest and healthy way to look at like somebody that you think you might be in love with.
Yeah.
Like, what would we fight over? What would we fight about? And who's going to win? I mean, me. If he's
Right.
smart, me. I let me win most of
Yeah.
the time. Listen, I have very simple rules. Um, like I love to do yard work. You will wheel the wheelbarrow and dump it in whatever rubbish bin we have in the backyard, because it's Ohio and we do that. We recycle that shit. Um, and I'll carry the groceries in. I'll put them in the fridge. The trash, that's your one thing. I'll clean. I can do bathrooms and toilets, not a problem. If we're doing tile work or painting, I'll tell you where I want the colors. Um, the colors that I picked, that you agree to. Uh, but I do. I like to play that game where I'm like, what would we fight about? So that I can prepare in my head. Um, but then I convince myself, just kind of the same way I put things in my Amazon cart and they sit there forever and then like never get bought. It's kind of something I do with a lot of these my love interest, my Tinder grinder ones, whatever. Is I'm
Right.
like, I start thinking like, if I have to think about things that we fight about, then it's probably not right, and it's probably me, not them. That needs to be figured out, worked on. I'm the red flag. It's me. In the words of Taylor Swift.
See, my thing is, in terms of a relationship, I know the easiest way to like avoid fights. This is what I'm gonna say. If you're not versed in your relationship, here's the simplest way. Bottom makes all the decisions, top's the one who buys dinner all the time. There you go. Problem solved.
Done. Done. And I don't mind things equaling out and whatever.
Well,
um,
that is equal.
yeah, done. I like that. You know what? I'm just gonna stick with that. I'm gonna try
Yeah,
my next one. So anybody watching out there,
yeah. I just solved it. Like everyone's like,
now hopefully they can do the
okay,
game math and figure out which position that meant I am.
and it's
I'm not
like,
gonna I'm not gonna say, but I mean, based off your
well,
rules, there, I guess it might be easy to get that answer.
or it's like if you're versed, it's like it's very simple. You do it half the time, you do it the other half of the time, and you have to do it even harder than that. If you don't actually carry money with you, do the coin flipping app on your phone.
Listen, you don't always got to buy me an expensive dinner. I mean, it can be Taco Bell.
That
Yeah.
that's my thing. Where it's like, th- that's why I saw somebody like that I interviewed on here who lived in LA, and he's like suggested to like this guy at one point. He's like, take me out for sushi, and I'm like, so you want on a first date a man to take you out for sushi in LA.
It's expensive.
Yeah,
Does it
LA
matter?
is well, I mean LA is expensive in general. It's like this is my thing where it's like no, I will this is my thing where it's like a first date, it's like if that's your standards, I'll be like, I'll tell you what, here's your Greyhound ticket. We're gonna go do sushi in Detroit where I can actually afford to take you out for dinner. Like get the fuck out of here. You want to go to fucking Nobu for your first date? Shut the fuck up. Like
Now, are you more of like the dinner, like the fancy dinner type of date person, or the evening experience, the plan, like the whatever, like you s- skimp on the now ever so often, like this one guy that I dated for on and off for a long time, he was
yeah,
amazing at picking like a really cool place. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes the menu items were, in that $3 sign, whatever range. Sometimes they weren't, but he was
right,
really great at making that decision, taking me someplace I hadn't been, whatever. He liked that thing where there'd be maybe courses or things. Also, he liked to pick out. Like, so some people don't appreciate, like, if your date like orders for you. I don't know. For me, like, depending on the person, I think that depending on their personality and if it's meaning, like, they're way more controlling, but usually I've not had that experience. I don't
yeah,
mind that. I think that's cute. Um, it's sort of them saying like, hey, I think I know you enough that I can pick out something you're going to like, or I think you should try because you haven't been here before. Um, but I'm okay pet scrimping on the crazy over the top dinner if we're doing some kind of fun activity or going to something or maybe a show, like,
right.
you
I
know.
think for like one of the dates with the person that's in a relationship for like a year, I'm pretty sure like on like the actual like date, I think we might have gone like for dinner. We actually went to I think like oh no, I was thinking the dinner was cheap. It wasn't. Well, I mean it was Olive Garden. I mean like Olive Garden can be expensive, but it's like
Yeah, it depends on what you're getting.
yeah, but it's like I think like I handled dinner and like he handled the event we were going to. So it's like we went to so in Orlando. There's this place where like it's called International Drive. It's essentially where like you can go like explore stuff.
Oh
They have
yeah.
like yeah, so it's like they had like a bone museum that we went to. Like I think he paid for that. We went to they have their own version of like Madame Tussauds. Like they're like all this stuff. So it's like if you're gonna have like one person pay for one thing and one person pay for the other thing, it's like that I'm also fine with. But I'm also the person who's like I'm also super cheap. It's like if your idea for like one of our dates is you just like want to go to like a park and talk, I'm fine with that too. Like I don't need like the exorbitant
Oh,
like thing.
right. No, I like that because I think if have you ever been done the date where there are those guys out there that there's expectations after the nice dinner, and
Um
and I don't know, like, not that I'm one to quickly shut that down, but I have to have a connection. It's got to be there's something over here, up here, whatever behind it. Not just like, oh, you took me to a really nice dinner, and so now you're owed something else. Like it's
I've
a
well here's the
hired
thing
thing.
is it's like if it was like
And that's just me.
I've done things where it's like I've had the like sex on the first date. That was the relationship that lasted a month. Like so clearly that was at least in my mind that's like that didn't teach me the right thing. Where it's like with my ex who I was with for a year, I made them wait 3 months before we had sex. So it's like I don't know. Maybe there is something to waiting. I don't know if necessarily 3 months is like the definite like amount, but it's like there's something about like leaving an air of mystery. And as you said, yeah, not expecting something on like a first date. Like,
I mean, if it happens, I'm okay with it. Like, I don't, I don't have strict rules on how that should happen, um, or if it should or shouldn't. It's if there's an expectation that it's going to, is when I'm like, better not.
and here, well, this is my thing. I
So it should be
say
kind of like it happened if it happened. I don't know.
it's also at some point it's literally like fighting your. With me, it'd be like fighting my urges because it's like that's why. What was it? I had this conversation with somebody one time. Who's like talking about they're like 25 years old and they're like, at 25 I like struggle to get hard. I'm thinking, I'm like, at this point I was 28. I'm like, I am 28. I have no problem. Like, even now I'm almost 30. I have no problem getting my dick up if I need to get it up. Like, it's like some people I think just have like low sex drives. I'm not one of those people. That's why like the thing where you said about waiting, that would be like me struggling so hard, but I would do it to make sure that
I
they stayed around.
sometimes I like I'm a worrier I definitely I'm a worrier and a people pleaser. I know that for myself, for as a fact about myself at this age.
Yeah.
It's like I will worry so hard the whole time. Like, am I talking too much, not enough? Am I asking enough questions to match what they're, like, because I start to worry about that halfway through. Were they expecting this to go there, to go here, or whatever? So I tend to overthink and probably blow it half the time. That's probably why I'm single still, because I
Yeah.
overthink it, think too hard on it, because I want it to be
Well,
right. It's a perfectionist in me.
okay. I will ask you this since I'm not trying to round your age up too much, but theoretically, you are approaching
40.
40. Yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy to say
Like,
that out loud. If
like,
you asked the 23-year-old boy who was coming out,
yeah.
like what he thought he'd be doing at 37 going on 40, I'd be like, the hell if I know. Not, not any things I'm doing now.
Well, yeah. And it's like, first of all, I will say this. I'm going to give you a compliment before I ask this question. It's like, if you haven't checked out this bitch's Instagram, that's what you want approaching 40 to look like. Like,
Well,
so
thank
it's
you.
like, you're welcome. It's like, so since you're getting, has your sex drive like gone down at all? Because like,
Is there
that
more?
is one
Go ahead.
thing. That is one thing I'm curious about because I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, maybe at 30 it's gonna slow down. I'm like, nope.
That
As it's a,
I'm sure
I'm
that's a case
six
by
months away.
case.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a case by case basis. Um, my like true, like, open heart answer on that. I think the as you get older and you learn more about yourself, and then, like you were saying, spending time by yourself, before you jump
right.
into a relationship, because I will tell you that those two big chunk relationships I had, um, it were me trying to conform to match somebody else's energy. They didn't form me, that's for sure. Now, there's a lot of things that I held on to, good, good and bad, not bad, indifferent, whatever. Where I questioned my personality on a lot of different things after that. But the being by yourself,
Yeah,
um, you really figure out what you like, and you learn more, and you get more comfortable in your own skin, and your own, and just meeting different people. So no, I think if anything, it's better. I'm more excited. It can be better, be more exciting, because you're more comfortable with who you are. Um, I know, like, I know right now, like right up front when I'm talking with somebody, like, or in a dating app or whatever, like, and it's not like to dismiss them or anything that I do think that when you're talking to people on dating apps, like it's really strange. Like I don't know if you feel this way or if either of you got friends that have felt this way. You hear messaging, especially like Grinder and stuff. Like people are aggressive if you don't answer them back. Like no is an answer. No response is a response. And I hate to say that. And I
Right.
know I'm not saying that my inbox has any more messages or less than somebody else's. But to sit there and heartfelt detail out to somebody, because that's a trap with some of those, trying to answer them back, because then it's just you're validating the I don't know what to say that, because there's no real good right answer and you'll make somebody mad either way. But no, I think the long that was a long way around. But yeah, no, I think it's gotten more exciting. I want to say
Right.
more exciting because I know who I am and you know what kind of connections I'm looking for. um, and and I've learned instead of no matter what the outside looks like, as exciting as that can be, there's no sense in trying to. You should never try to make yourself, fit into what somebody else is into,
Right.
because you like what you see, or try to expect them to fit into what you're into, because if it's stick to keep moving, and yeah, and I think you'll have a better experience and better
Exactly.
connections.
Exactly. And it's the thing is like you know what you want. Like that's something I don't know. Some people maybe it did take some people a little bit older. I got to what was it? I think it was like 26, 27, or yeah, 27 definitely. So it's like my thing is so you're being mysterious about what position you are. I will say this, I am verse, I primarily bottom, but it's like I was the person who's like literally I finally like at 27 got the like strength to be like I know what I want. And it's like messaging every man and it's like some people like this is forward and direct, but this is how you have to be. It's like I tell every man like it's like you know what you want. So it's like I do the thing of where it's like I say like if you're not eating my ass before you fuck me, you're not fucking me. Like that's literally just like how I am. It's like and he's like and guys are like, I don't want to do it. Well, I'm like, well then I'm not for you. Bye. But again, some people are like, you can't be that headstrong. Yeah, you can.
Mm,
You should be like
you should, yeah.
because this is the point where you got to say like you've only got one life to live. It's like if you're not enjoying something, don't stay. Like
Well, I
don't
was gonna say
like
the same thing. I
be
was gonna say life is
impatient.
short. Yeah,
Yeah.
life is short, and it's silly to try to force those things. Um, and I would say for what I typically tend to vibe with is a guy that's probably more on top of things. Uh,
I hear you.
so in charge of making sure that things go whatever way.
Right.
That's not a strict rule, but
No,
it
it's
just
like
tends to be a better vibe for them and for me.
yeah, work. So okay. So would you ever consider doing OnlyFans?
I mean, a lot of people out there have considered it, right?
Yeah.
Right now, it's not something that's on my. So I'm a paper planner, like my little zipper, day timer. It's not,
Yeah.
my calendar is pretty full with a lot of engagements and events. It's right now, there's no time for that. Um, at least that, right now.
Right. I mean, I say,
It's an interesting, it's a bold, the people that have that confidence and that, that, can cross over into, from that to other things that they do. I just don't think it fits into what I'm doing right now.
and I actually kind of like applaud that. I will say, for me, this is an easy answer. It's like I've thought about it before. It's like now, as I said, that I'm planning on putting out an album. It's like, what I definitely do now. Of course not, because it's like then you have to sit there and defend the. It's like the thing of it's like I'm over here being a serious artist, but I just saw you do this on OnlyFans. It's like, no, but I'm a serious artist. It's like, but
And there are so many
I
people out
just,
there that are so good at it already, and
yeah.
I I would
And my
laugh. I'd laugh. I would probably like giggle and laugh, and wouldn't know what the heck I was doing. So you
yeah,
know, I'll leave that to the pros out there who do a better job at it than I would.
exactly, yeah.
And I'll just keep
So
dancing my booty off over here on the other side, being that cheerleader for all the different people out there
yeah,
celebrating them.
and plus it's like it's also a thing of like as you said, there's so many people doing it. It's like
And they're good at it. And I have friends that
yeah,
have done variations and things of it, and it's just
it's like the only times it's ever come up with it's like the thing of money, and it's like if you're doing something for the money, you're not necessarily going to have your heart into it. This actually, before I get into some of my questions, this is literally they just brought this up to me at work today. They're like, so it's in like a coaching session, and they're like, what is your goals of coming to work? And I had to sit there for a second because I'm like, okay, let me come up with a bullshit thing that would be acceptable to put them on paper. Because it's like, first of all, if anyone asks you that question and they're not like an artist person, and then they're like an artist person and they're not doing an artsy job, here's the reason they come to work. You're giving them fucking money. That's why they're showing up to work. Like,
yeah,
like it's literally that simple. But of course
right.
you can't tell anybody that. It's like y'all give me a paycheck. That's why I show up. Like the minute y'all stop taking my money, you won't see me anymore. Like
Yep.
anyway, so what are your thoughts on how the LGBT community is being treated today?
Hmm. It's a broad question. Um, and I think it's a tough one to answer because I think it varies based on your level of involvement in the community, like in what aspect you're involved and where you live. So I know that
Right.
there's areas out there that have it a lot tougher. There's a
Hmm.
lot more being piled on, a little more restrictions, and you know, I don't know. I guess to round out my viewpoints on that, like being like in my teen year, like so, if you think about the 2000s, I mean, what
Right.
was the gayest things we had? I mean, that was so post 80s, which I mean, there were some things out there that were wild um, and artsy and now we would say non-binary artists and things out there. For us in the 2000s, we had what the Backstreet Boys and Sync and Britney Spears, and there wasn't a lot of gay culture on MTV and stuff that we saw. I mean, they weren't really
Right.
the reality shows. There wasn't anybody representing that as far as like a role model and influence. If you had anybody to reference, you definitely weren't going to come across that. There was that maybe that one kid who in your school, that one or two kids
Yeah.
that were open, in high school. It likely didn't go well for them. I mean, it didn't. It was tougher for
Right.
them. So if you were over there in the shadows, just kind of like, God, let me get through this. Let me graduate and go figure out who I am. Um, so I don't know. I guess I definitely pray for the ones out there that have it that don't that have it tough. I do like to go outside my box and push boundaries and the things I do and the things that I'm a part of, like and owning who I am. Like this interview, like being open and candid about the things we're
Yeah.
talking about. Being
Exactly.
but also coming from that advertising background, with my Instagram stuff and whatever. Like I try to watch where try to watch, keep a line, boundary of like not going too far, because again, with the advertising and niche, you're trying to appeal to everybody. So that makes it tough. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I am happy for the people that are out there representing us, that are super openly celebrating, like Sam Smith, like the stuff that he's doing out there,
Yeah.
and saying like, I love that. Like that is, the people that are out there doing the stuff and being the brave, so that we have role models and influences. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if I answered that well at all.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
no, you're good. It's like you're saying that, like, first of all, as an advertiser point, you're saying like that mass appeal. This is the difference between somebody who's in advertising and an artist. Because like my thing is, I have some like music video concepts for this album. I'm gonna piss people off, and my view is, in some ways, I don't care. Like, because it's like there is, okay, going to Sam Smith, I say there's two ways of doing things. One is to like just get attention, and the other is to have a purpose in getting attention. So it's like I have a music video idea where it's like at one point, after it's like I start out in a mental institution, like in like a black wig with like white makeup and like no like lipstick or blush or anything, just like white makeup, and then like all of a sudden I'm transformed into like a church, and I have these two like backup dancers who are like dancing with me, and then we're like making out on the altar of the church, and like both of them at one point bend me over the kneeler and like simulate fucking me in the church, and then they pour gasoline in the church and like set it on fire. But it's like some of that is like shocking imagery, but it's like my point is like I want the church to burn. Why? Because like at least my view, like some people say like this is a church's job, but I feel like you should be looking to protect people. You shouldn't be looking to try and like put them in harm, because it's like I will say this to that youth minister who put me in a mental institution, that was putting me in harm's way for no reason. And it's like you can't like sit there and say like you did the right decision when even the psychiatrist who released me eventually was like, this person is well adjusted, they don't belong here. So it's like you're clearly, at least in my view, you were abusing resources meant to help people, and essentially, yes, putting me in harm's way. So
Because
it's
maybe
like
because I'm thinking
dude,
because they were uncomfortable with, instead of pass.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to know what they were thinking, but
yeah.
yeah,
So
no.
it's like, do I want to see a church burn? Fucking right, I do. It's like, and I will say that's like, as I said, that's imagery with like a purpose. Sam Smith's whole thing of I'm just gonna pretend out here like I'm Satan. That I feel like doesn't really have a purpose. That's just him trying to get attention. So it's like there's both. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I like Sam Smith's music too, but it's like at the same way, it's like I would put Sam Smith in like the Little Nas X category, where it's like Lil Nas X is just like trying to shock people. It's like with people who just want to like try and shock people, my thing is I'm thinking as an artist, I'm like, when are people going to see the real you? Which some people are like, you're sitting up here in a wig talking about us seeing the real you. I I tell y'all, you if like you listen to the lyrics, like okay, I'll just go into the lyrics of that song I was talking about. So it's like, okay, you see, the lyrics are like the first verse is like, you said pray to Jesus, he put me on hold, took my mom from me at 18 years old. She never got to see me fall and gain, never told her that I was gay. And then the second verse I say, when I came out, I was bi. You told me bury homo feelings inside. Said I need to find a woman to hitch. Don't even matter if I'm attracted to the bitch. Like that wasn't told to me that harshly, but it's like when you're telling a gay person to hide part of themselves, that's what they're hearing. And like some people are like, that's intense. So I'm like, that's the point.
Putting, opening some eyes to the, how it feels inside.
Exactly.
To,
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I somehow like I would love to envision a day where like it's the easiest to like just come out and be free to yourself. Unfortunately, I feel like in the United States we're almost there. We're there as much as we're going to get to. But it's like if you look at other foreign countries, there's a lot of work that has to be done. And it has to be done from people in the United States because people over there can't do it themselves. And in my view, I'm getting to the last question, but it's like in my view, it's like if you're gonna send like political power to foreign countries, that's what you need to send it over to foreign countries for. Not to like get involved in some holy war that people have been fighting for like hundreds of years. That's never going to be won.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be trying to save people, not destroy people. And I don't know. I'm not a war person. I'm a diplomat person. I'm a peace person. Like anyone who's like for war and is like, yeah, let's go kill those motherfuckers. Fuck off. Like
I've never been one to try to
yeah,
muscle through things myself. It's,
yeah,
you know, words, brains over brawn sometimes is,
yeah,
more the route I would take. So yeah, with you on that.
definitely. So to my final question, what's the biggest misconception about you?
Ooh. Hmm. I I think that's a good question. I think that a lot. I don't know. So I've never. So based on what the conversations I've had with people like after they've met me versus like from just like the see my online presence, those
Yeah,
types of things, and then after they meet me, a lot if they like message or text or conversations the next time, a lot of times it's like, wow, you're way more down to earth and way more chill, a lot nicer than I had expected. So
right.
I don't know if they, uh, you know, ex, it's hard. I don't know if I'm not sure what they were. I've never. I guess I should probably ask what they were expecting. I don't know if it's probably the same thing that a lot of people think whenever someone's profile is, you have people with profiles that have things and stuff that they're doing, their family, lots of different stuff. And I've done those things too. And we had talked about the agency thing, the talent agency thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did that for so long, like promoting other people, getting them work, getting them gigs, for acting, radio, whatever. And this time around, I'm like, that was took a lot of work and a lot of time to build that. We had, I had well over 600 models, of all, men, women, kids. It took a long time, it took years to put that together. And then, I walked away from that. And so I'm like, I wonder to get back into that because I took such a break. I'm like,
Right.
before I try to, because I've had, talent that a few models I've worked with in the past that like, hey, you're going to get back into doing that. I'd love to have you be my agent again. I'm like, man, I don't, you know, whatever. So I put a lot of time, like, let me take some time to see if I can just promote in a as a non superficial narcissistic way as it sounds, promote myself to even see if I still had the advertising know-how to, to, it's not just about putting out a pretty picture. You got to have a story behind it. In my opinion, I worked with these great photographers, and what they taught me was, if you're gonna, it's great to take a picture, but if there's no story about why, what the scenario, what are you trying to sell here? What's the goal? No, it's
Right.
not going to work. So if I couldn't at least do that for myself, why would I? I don't want to agree to do it for somebody else. So I think sometimes people see that profile, me posting, oh, it's another picture of Derek posting about Derek. I think they probably expect like this douchebag um, who's just like, hey, look at me,
Hmm.
and and but I guess if you look through the stuff that I post most of the time, like it's because I've got like some really cool new, garment from like an underwear brand or clothing brand or like a hair brand or something. Like there's this guy that's out in Detroit, this RSNB, it's jewelry made out in Detroit. He makes cool pieces. Like I don't know. I like to, like, if I'm taking a picture, I like to celebrate another artist, like something that they've made, and that's like the fun part for me. That's usually why I'm posting something or the event or people that have put something together. So I think people are just expecting like this. It's funny because with my name being Derek, like this, the Derek Julian movies, like that. I'm just that, like,
Yeah.
you know, and that there maybe isn't a personality behind it. And I guess, yeah, that they're not expecting maybe. And I don't know how to categorize my personality, but I think that they're expecting something different than what I am. Hopefully that when they meet me, you know, it's a good experience. I mean, I
Yeah.
hope, for them and for me. Um,
Yeah. I get that. First of all, like you're saying, like you don't know what it is. Skinny white person misconception. They probably think about you immediately, bitch. Like I'm not saying that that's right, but it's like
and I can be all
eh,
those things on different times. But
first of all, anyone who's going out to meet Derek and is like thinking that this is my response to that. Nobody who's a bitch would actually sit here with me because like that's at least my view, and it's like in terms of me, I've been told two. One of them is that I'm shady. I do not. I believe I'm very opinionated because I will say this, like people who are shocked about that, I'm like, I'm an artist. Of course I have opinions. Like if I didn't have a different perspective than like the norm, then what could I make? That's why I say as artists, if you have never suffered like if you've never gone through like emotional trauma or have some form of like rebellion in you that wants to go against the grain, if you don't have those two things, you're going to be the most basic artist out there. And it's like you're going to put out what in some ways call monotonous garbage. You're just going to put out stuff that's like has no depth.
vapid, yeah,
Yeah, vapid. And it's like
or empty, yeah, something.
absolutely. There's an artist out in LA. I've talked about this before. He calls himself a rapper, and it's like he's 31 years old and he's been writing songs for 4 years, and they're all about like twerking and getting fucked. I'm like, you're 31 years old. This is the only fucking thing that's happened to you in your whole life, and people are like buying into it. I'm like, I the person who's like, no, no, I'm not supporting somebody who's like putting out garbage. Like, I believe this. I should say we should support all queer people who do things well. If you suck at something, we should not support you doing that. Like, that's just my view. I'm not going to support somebody who's just a queer artist just because they're queer artists.
And I know
If
there's a
I
lot of
think,
people out there that'll say, sorry, I mean,
yeah,
this,
God,
but I think there's a lot of people out there. I've seen it. I've seen it like in groups that, on Facebook and things like, they'll say, not my sandbox, not my, not my problem, whatever. But I think
yeah,
that when they're, if they're, now, not to say there's not D-bags out there that are trying to create something and that you should be like, I guess just let them flop and whatever. But I do honestly believe that, if there is somebody in your community who is trying to do something, well, I think the best way is to say, hey, would you be interested in my, I don't know, opinion, whatever, like, because it's, give them, I think giving them the opportunity to, sort of sweep them up in your arms and into your community, whatever,
right,
and help and help them grow if they want it. I mean, and if they say no, I'm not interested, then that's fine too. Um,
yeah,
you know, I, but yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. If that makes
yeah.
sense.
No, I get, and that's the thing. I'd be all for doing that. That's why, like, I had a concept for like a show because like people always tell me all the time, they're like, "Why don't you do reality TV? Why don't you do all of this?" And my response is I'm like, I've tried out for Idol, American Idol twice, and it's like my thing is I don't fit in that mold. I don't fit in the voice mold. I don't. There needs to be in that. I would pitch this idea of somebody like if I got a chance to meet a network executive, this is what I would pitch. I'm like, where's a singer songwriter show? Because that's what you need, a show with four singer songwriters who are literally on a and the four people I chose are all queer people who are queer talented artists because why not support people who are actually talented and bring them up with other people. And it's like you have four artists, you have them at the end of the week after all the artists perform, you have each of those judges perform a song as well. You rotate the judges performing a song each week at the end. So that way, this proves to the audience who's watching the show that these people actually have talent and their critiques are actually valid.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So anyone know any executives in their family, please gladly tell them my idea. I will sit in a meeting and I'm like, if I'm doing ABC, NBC, CBS, just know you're probably gonna have the guy sit there with the sensor on the button. But like,
Logo TV. That would be a good one. If
see
they start
that
doing,
would
you know,
I will say this before I get to the second one. I miss when Logo did original entertainment. They don't do it anymore. Like,
I think it's hard. It's hard to have those budgets and things with so many competing streaming things. I will say that was so that one of I guess a little off topic, but when I had the talent agency, I actually had a couple guys that were on The Bachelor, and a girl from Biggest Loser. It's brutal. Those are brutal. Those reality shows are brutal. I mean, the contracts, the things, all the stuff, that you go through to do those. So I can see where it's tough. Assuming that those, I mean, this Logo, if it's a smaller offshoot network, you know, his budgets are, it's a lot of work.
well, Logo, I will say this: Logo let their like cash cow leave. Like everyone can say it. It's like as much as people love Drag Race when it moved to VH1 or MTV, and it's like that belonged on Logo because it's like that was a queer network that was showing a queer show, and that's what had them have the budget to do shows like the A-List New York and Fire Island and all that because like they had Drag Race coming in and Drag Race is just making money, money, money because that's what it does. I will say as a millennial, I've said this plenty of times. Get Drag Race off of TV. Like Literally put it on Paramount Plus. Nobody my age has cable. Like, that's why I haven't watched this season that much, because I'm like I'll watch the like highlights, but it's like, where am I gonna go? It's not like I can go down the streets of like my local bar and like watch it at a viewing party for free. Anyway, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, the other misconception. I've been told that I'm intimidating. And being a big bitch, who's again, as I say, 6'3", I can understand that, but it's like, I am a sweetheart unless I have a reason to believe that you're not genuine. If I can like detect that on somebody, I'll be high and nice to you, but I'm not gonna like call you my friend. I'll call you an acquaintance, but I ain't calling you a friend, because it's like,
Right.
you are as about as genuine as a fake palm tree in the corner of the room. Like, I I can tell, and like,
Oh, and I won't change myself for that type of personality. I mean, I used to, they used to bother me being a people pleaser.
yeah,
Wanting to, like figure out like why, what the if it was something about me, but it's not a waste. Like you're saying, I'll
yeah.
be nice. We can be in the same room. Um, I won't entertain their bullshit.
That's why like, I had a thought of like moving to LA at one point. I'm like, no, no, because I can't. As I said, I can't do it, because it's like, because I will be the person in the room that's like, if you have 8,000 people telling you yes, it's amazing, and they're all trying to be your friends, I'm gonna be the one that's gonna be like, if it's good, I'll tell you it's good. Like, I have no problem telling people when they're doing things great. I have no problem praising people that do things amazingly. But if you're doing something bad, they're gonna all say yes to you. I'm gonna say, okay, do you want the truth, or do you want me to lie to you?
Right.
Because if you want me to lie to you, I'll just walk out. Like, but if you want the truth, I'm gonna be like, no, that's not it. I had somebody on here who like, they did one interview. I was interested in doing a second interview with them. I heard their latest single come out, and then all of a sudden, once I heard that, I'm like, wow, you were either like really, really good, or like you sucked from the beginning, and I just took off the rose colored glasses, because I'm thinking, I hear this song, I'm like, this song really sucks. And like, I did not pursue asking them back, because it's like, I can happily be a fan of somebody and have one interview with them and like be their fan. But it's like, if again, if like, I don't think you're doing good, it's like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I loved your new single when I thought it was trash. That's why like, that's why I thought about, if I were to ever like go to like like theoretically like those one of those network shows or like a cable show, if somehow somebody discovered me from that and would want me to do that, I don't think I could. I mean, you started broadcast journalism. Do you think you could do it? Like,
Hmm. No, I mean, I had a little. I was part of a pilot program once there was something that was being pitched to MTV years back, and it was just I was just telling a story to somebody actually, and there was a group of us that they were had gathered together, and it was like 3 days of filming, to pull together the pilot. By the third kind of into that third night, it was just
yeah,
they're like, well, so and so. I'm like, so and so didn't say that, and I would never, and we would never. Like, we just the things that they were trying to pull and push. And it was such a. I'm like, nope. never again,
Yeah.
never again. I mean, probably never again. Because you're not in that scenario. Not, hey, listen, I was in theater. I love a script. Um, did a lot of them through school for the speech and debate. But if you're pitching it over here as where's my hand as this,
Yeah.
but you're really doing this, that I'm not. It's disgenuine, so can't do it.
Right. It's like the thing of we want to create a moment. And like my response is, why don't you just let a moment happen instead of trying to create it?
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, we could go on for hours about that.
We
So
could. I
anyway,
love this. I haven't eaten dinner
anyway,
yet, so
yeah, I know.
that's the only thing
I,
I have to
I'm
do.
le- I'm le- I'm letting you go. I gotta go to sleep anyway. So it's like, anyway. With that being said, it was a pleasure getting to meet you.
Absolutely. This was fantastic. It was so nice to meet you too.
Yes, love that. Anyway, with that being said, this is Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and I hope you've enjoyed.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too.